So, Donald Trump has been elected as the next president of the United States. Now, for many people, this might be a surprise. For others, it may not be. Have your thoughts. Let's see whether you were surprised or not. For my part, I was not surprised. I saw this coming because whether or not you would agree that Donald Trump is the president America wants, he is definitely the president America needs. And there is a world of difference between the two. It doesn't matter whether you like the man, it doesn't matter whether you hate the man. He has some pretty good ideas of how America can be improved. Of course, his famous tagline was "Make America Great Again," something that a lot of lefty types in America see as a sort of racist statement and whatever. But I think America needs Donald Trump, and they're about to find out just how much they needed him. For the next, what is it, 4 or 5 years that he's going to be in office, I think you're going to see a lot of changes to the way America is. And it also may be of great benefit to other places in the world, including, of course, England and the greater UK. Now, obviously, as I've just said, Donald Trump winning was not a surprise to me. I'll explain briefly before we move on to what I actually want to talk about. You see, when it was Biden as the president, it was already no surprise to me when it was announced that Donald Trump was going to be the Republican candidate. I think that's correct. Um, that he was going to win. He would beat Biden hands down. When Biden stepped down and Kamala Harris took over, or I think it was Kamala Harris, was it? Uh, I was still in no doubt that Trump was going to win. And a lot of other people seemed to be in no doubt that Trump was going to win, hence the multitude of assassination attempts. Well, it seems you can't keep a good man down, or a bad one, if you think that particular way. Now, of course, Donald Trump has some pretty interesting ideas for what he wants to do with America. If he gets to do all of them, that may be a pretty good thing for America. And of course, as I said a couple of minutes ago, this may also, or a minute or two ago, uh, this may also be a good thing for other countries, including England and the greater UK. For those of you who may not know, our current government is a Labour government, voted in just a few months back in the general election. Since that point, that Labour government has proved to be the worst government in the history of England and the UK. They have made a number of terrible decisions. Each one seems to be worse than the last. And since the government will not listen to its own people, its fellow countrymen, the silent majority, who are now not so silent, uh, it may come to outside sources to make them listen. Now, of course, at some point, President Donald Trump will meet Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and he may just, Donald Trump may just give Keir Starmer the necessary kick up the arse that he needs with a stern talking to, somewhere politely, I suppose, along the lines of fucking sort your country out. What the fuck are you doing? And of course, it needs to be said, and somebody needs to say it. He never said in a polite way. Now, Donald Trump, of course, is not one to mince his words. He's always been very upfront about his political views and his political ideas and what he thinks is best for the country of America and indeed the world. And people sort of feared Donald Trump when he was president before. I mean, during Donald Trump's first presidency, there were no real wars around the world, no real conflicts around the world. There's no real issues of any kind of serious nature. When his presidency ended, the Russia-Ukraine situation began, the Israel-Palestine situation began. Lefty woke liberals started running everything and getting more and more vocal. And I believe with someone like Donald Trump in charge of one of the world's superpowers again, a lot of that will be fixed. So, as from the title of this video, the state of the UK. Now, the state of the UK is, well, it's definitely a state. And I don't mean like a state of America, although maybe it is in certain states in America. I think the UK is a complete state at the moment, and our Prime Minister is only making the situation worse. Not just for us, the British public, but also for himself and his own party. A lot of people have become quite disillusioned with Labour recently, uh, including some of those that voted them in the latest election, because of some of the policies that they've been enacting, and some of the new measures and laws, and legislations and everything that they've been doing. One of which was, of course, recently, was the crackdown of inciting violence and hatred, particularly online. Now, of course, this is something that is done by the individual website. If you are inciting violence or hatred, or you're posting anything that's too insulting or threatening or harassing in nature, it's down to the individual website to do something about it. Your comments are removed, your account is banned, in extreme cases, because you are violating the site's terms of use, or its community guidelines, or its privacy policy, or whatever. Yeah? Every website has one. Whether it be social networking like Facebook, Twitter, or social media like YouTube, TikTok, they all have a terms of use and a privacy policy and website guidelines and things about how you should behave. Not necessarily restricting how you behave, but encouraging you not to behave in a bad way. So it's not necessarily a restriction on your freedom of speech or expression. It's more a warning that exercising your freedom of speech and expression could be offensive, so we say, which of course is true. Right? It is not for the lawgivers or the government even of the individual country where you live to decide what you can and cannot post on, say, X or Facebook. If I happen to post something, whether it be here on YouTube or anywhere else, that is controversial or anti Labour Party, anti-Keir Starmer, anti-Peggy down the road. Could be just that one. Or, I don't know, anti-immigration even. I don't know, right? Just anti-anything or throw something else. Right? It's just down to the website to decide whether that is offensive, whether any action needs to be taken. It is not for the government to do so. It does not fall under the jurisdiction of the individual country's laws. Yes, there are laws that you may be breaking by posting whatever you're posting. If so, okay, arrest the person. But if you're not breaking a law of your country by posting what you're posting, it is just I don't know, an offensive remark or an opinion that you have, or you're stating a cold hard fact that for some reason your government doesn't like, they do not have the right to come and arrest you for doing so. Obviously, if it's against the website's policy, it is for them to do something about it, not your government. Well, a lot of Keir Starmer's policies have been very liberal with its application of using the law to punish those who post things online. Now, this of course is not a good thing, because where does it end? If people are being arrested for posting an innocuous comment, an opinion, a joke, or even a cold hard fact that cannot be denied, what comes next? How far will they take this? People are already, especially within England and the Great UK, being very careful what they say online. If they have an opinion on something, or they wish to state some kind of fact, or even make a joke, people are checking themselves with regards to whether or not this could possibly get them arrested. And it's causing a lot of people within the UK to enforce a sort of self-censorship on themselves, so that they don't really want to express their opinion. They don't want to forward on this rather funny joke. They don't want to state something that is clearly a fact, just in case they get arrested for it. This is not the sort of society we should be living in. Free speech and freedom of expression is a somewhat worldwide right of all humanity. Regardless of whether someone may possibly, even just a tiny bit, find that offensive at some point, you're still allowed to say whatever you want to say. And there should be no consequences of saying it. Unless you are deliberately trying to break the law, like you're trying to incite violence or hatred against anyone or whatever, right? You should be able to say anything you want. If you want to share a joke, or you want to repost a meme, or you want to give just your own opinion on something, or simply state a fact that cannot be denied, you should be able to do so without any fear, because it is not illegal to do so. There are certain instances of speech that are illegal. Therefore, obviously, don't do that. But every time they arrest someone for sharing a meme, sharing a joke, posting an opinion, stating a fact even, let's just state the fact. Every time they arrest someone for that, they are essentially telling the people of this country, you cannot do this. This is unacceptable. This is illegal, even though it's not. And it's simply a way of silencing you. You're not allowed. It's basically telling you you're not allowed to have an opinion. You're not allowed to state facts. You're not allowed to make jokes. You're not allowed to criticize. You're not allowed to say or do anything that someone somewhere may consider offensive. Now, of course, there's an important distinction to be made there. There's a difference between saying something that someone at some point may possibly consider offensive and saying something to be offensive on purpose. It's all about intent. If I post a joke and someone may be offended by it, well, that's down to them, not me. If I post a joke deliberately to be offensive, then that's on me. Well, I don't like it, and I'm unsure where it could lead along the years. As such, in the essence of freedom of speech and expression, I'd like to share with you a poem which almost 100% tells you the state of the UK today. I'm not entirely sure what particular rhythm to read this to, but there we go. Well, two-tier starmers, fucking the farmers, screwing the pensioners too. Muslims can kill, you protest but still, there isn't that much you can do. There's illegal migration and rampant inflation, yet you are not allowed to complain. But take it from me, your speech isn't free, our country is going down the drain. You are labelled far right, is it now time to fight, to retake our country and stand? Let's all hope that Keir doesn't last a year and England will remain our good land. When the truth is suppressed and the people oppressed, the people must rise and rebel. If it takes civil war with what we're fighting for, our opponents will pay for this hell. Now, just in case you're wondering why you can't find that particular poem anywhere, I wrote it this morning, in fact. There's a lot to unpick in that. Obviously, we all know why Starmer is referred to as two-tier Starmer, or two-tier Keir. The farmers' issue is a particular problem. He wants to raise inheritance tax on farmers who may pass their farms on to their children, or who will pass their farms on to their children. Now, that's all well and good. I mean, it's not. But okay, you think that's a good idea. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, we'll go along with the fact that that is a good idea. It isn't. A lot of these farmers, even though they might own quite a lot of land, doesn't necessarily mean they can grow anything on that land, or grow very much on that land. Doesn't necessarily mean they have many animals on that land if they're like a dairy farmer or a sheep farmer or a pig farmer. Doesn't necessarily mean that they earn much money from what they produce. Yet they're going to have to pay more in inheritance tax. And so will their children as they get older. And their children. And their children. Which is going to cause a lot of farms, maybe not all of them, but a lot of farms, to be forced to shut down. Which means less locally grown produce. Which means we have to import more food from other countries. This is a very bad thing. And I'm sure you can all agree, when you're shutting down, or causing the shutdown of food production in your country, you therefore have to get that food from another country, which may cost more, which means you must charge more to the consumer. And I don't like that idea. And I'm sure a lot of people out there don't either. Pensioners, of course, is another particular serious issue. Pensioners, of course, have lived a relatively long life so far, paid a lot of tax over the years, and are now living on their pension, which in some cases is not a lot of money. Not a lot of money at all. But they had something called the winter fuel allowance, which was an amount of money given to pensioners to help cover the costs of heating, gas and electric, basically, and during the winter. This has now been stopped. So these people have put thousands of pounds over the years into tax and just want to live relatively comfortably for what remains of their lives. And now, with the winter fuel allowance being taken away, some of them will now be forced to make the decision, the choice, not that it's really a decision or a choice, between heating and eating. Do you want to be warm or do you want to be fed? This is a decision that many pensioners may have to make this year. So if you have any elderly relatives or elderly neighbours, in the course of Christmas, maybe it'd be best to check in on them and see if they're okay. Muslims can kill. Well, I mean, now, this one is you have to be very careful in talking about at the moment. Um, it has been revealed that a person suspected of committing a terrible crime a few months back may possibly have links to Islam, which would make him a Muslim, and he may or may not be found guilty of the terrible crime he committed, or allegedly committed. He has, of course, been found guilty of two crimes he has committed, which is why it has been revealed that he has connections to Islam. Of course, I don't really need to go into too many details about the protests, so we can move swiftly on from that one. Illegal migration or illegal immigration, obviously a big topic in the UK and in America, it seems. There's a large number of illegal immigrants coming into this country on a daily basis, and it does seem that you are not allowed to campaign. If you do, you are labelled a far-right racist, even if your complaints are of a genuine concern. You are just a far-right racist. No one should listen to you. And by declaring you a far-right racist, they ensure that people aren't going to want to listen to you. Because no one, of course, wants to be associated with a far-right racist. Of course, it doesn't stop some people from actually listening to you and possibly agreeing with you. And the more people do listen and agree and then speak out themselves, the more the term far-right racist becomes obsolete. Do not be scared into keeping silence, and do not simply avoid talking to people because they're suddenly labelled a far-right racist. Because you might find that what is making them a far-right racist may also technically be what would cause you to be labelled the same, because your views may align. I often find myself agreeing with a number of people I never thought I'd ever agree with. Or I find myself agreeing more with people I used to agree with a little bit. I often find myself very firmly agreeing with Piers Morgan. I often find myself very firmly agreeing with Jeremy Clarkson and other prominent celebrities, I suppose. Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, even famous-ish, popular names. Look at people on the internet. Bob Angel, Blair White. I find myself agreeing with a wide range of different people who may talk about different things to each other, but I agree with them. And I agree with them. And where they talk about the same subject, their views seem to align, not just with mine, but with each other. Really don't need to go into the idea that your speech isn't free, or that you're of course labelled far right, since I just mentioned that. In the last part of the poem, the line says, "If it takes civil war." Now, of course, a few months back, Elon Musk basically stated that if Keir Starmer essentially carried on the way he's going, there will probably be a civil war instituted. With each passing day, that seems more and more like an absolute certainty. I don't think it's a matter of if there will be a civil war, but when. But the question is, will it be a civil war, or will it be more of a revolution? I mean, essentially, there's not really too much difference between the two. Both would lead to fighting between two opposing sides, maybe more than two opposing sides, and there can be only one victor, unless the two come to some kind of truce agreement. Not very likely, much like the Israel-Palestinian situation. If there is a civil war or a rebellion or a revolution, whatever you call it in this country, I believe it will be bloody but brief. It will happen very quickly and it will be very damaging, but it may, just may, set the UK back in the correct path, the right direction. And I believe whether you have opposing views on this political discussion or that political discussion, I'm sure we can all agree that we prefer our country to be on the correct path, regardless of what that path may be and whether we actually agree with it. So, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and the government needs to do some of that work, as does the justice system, to regain the trust of the public and the respect of the trust of the public. Respect is not given, it is not demanded, it is earned. And when you lose the trust of the public, it takes a lot to regain it. When you lose the respect of the public, it takes a lot to regain it. And the way the police and justice system and government in this country is currently going, that respect and trust isn't going to come back very quickly. So what can they do? Well, the police and the justice system can start enforcing the law without fear or favour, like they are meant to. Lady Justice, of course, the symbol of justice, with the sword with the weighing scales, is always depicted wearing a blindfold, because justice is blind. It doesn't matter who you are, what colour you are, where you came from. You commit a crime, you commit a crime, and the punishment should be the same for all. I mean, obviously, that takes into account previous crimes. Okay, fair enough. Well, if this man commits a crime, and this man commits a crime, the same crime, this man should not be given a bigger or smaller sentence because he's black or white or Christian or Jewish or Muslim or whatever. None of that matters. What matters is you committed this crime, you committed this crime, and let's say neither of them have a history of criminal offences, right? It's their first offence, both of them. They both should get the same punishment, regardless of who they are, where they came from, the gender identity, the religion they follow, or don't. Justice should be blind. So that would be a big help in regaining the trust and the respect of the British public for the police and the justice system. End the two-tier policing and two-tier justice system. You can claim it doesn't exist as much as you like, but the evidence speaks for itself. If a white English man, who may or may not be a Christian, can be imprisoned for implying that a police officer's horse might be gay, then a person who attacks a police officer, or several police officers, causing serious harm, regardless of age, race, sex, nationality, gender identity, should be prosecuted and given a larger sentence. Because there's a difference between implying a horse may be gay, which I don't think is even a crime, and breaking a police officer's nose. And if you don't see a difference between the two, maybe you're the problem. But saying a horse may be gay is definitely not worse than breaking someone's nose. It is clearly the other way around. As anyone with a higher IQ than a glass of water can plainly see. Now, for the government to regain the respect and trust of the British people, that's going to take some doing. But it can be done. Keir Starmer and the Labour Party can turn this around if they just stop being so bloody stupid. And maybe, as I said at the beginning of the video, Donald Trump might give Keir Starmer the necessary kick up the arse he needs to get this country back on track. I personally don't believe Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister long enough to serve out a full term in office. In fact, I firmly believe that Keir Starmer will be the shortest reigning Prime Minister in our country's history. I'd be very surprised if a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister doesn't appear very soon. Now, one interesting piece of information. Nigel Farage and Richard Tice, and the Reform Party as a whole, are going ahead, pursuing rather, a private prosecution of the Manchester Airport attackers, because the CPS seem to be taking forever to make a decision on whether they're going to charge them or not. Now, it doesn't matter whether I agree with this idea or not. I mean, I really don't think anyone should interfere with justice in any way, shape, or form, even if it gets the desired result. However, if justice is not going to be done by those who should be doing the justice, then perhaps it is down to others to do the same. In the legal way. Not like vigilantes. Although it is technically a vigilante thing to do, isn't it? Now, do I believe this prosecution will succeed? Yes. If they manage to pursue this private prosecution and they manage to stop the CPS from being able to just swoop in and take control, it'll go through. If the CPS does swoop in and take control, it may go through or it may not, because the CPS can just decide to drop the case. This, of course, would be very, very bad for all concerned. In many, many ways. Some a lot worse than others. So I'll be interested to see if this private prosecution does go through and what it results in. Also, it will be interesting to see if by the end of, say, next year, we have a new Prime Minister or a new government altogether. Because in some cases, it's not just about changing the leader of the political party, but changing the political party itself, or simply replacing it with a different one. A lot of people do say Labour didn't win the election, the Conservatives just lost it. I tend to agree with this. If more people had voted Reform, it could be Nigel Farage as our Prime Minister, who would have been the party for the moment. Would that have been better for the country? Maybe. If Nigel Farage ever gets an opportunity to become Prime Minister, or any member of the Reform Party, I mentioned who's involved, would that be better for the country? Probably, because they seem to care, or at least care more than the Conservatives and Labour and Lib Dems claim to. You can't say you care about the great British public and then rob pensioners. And I'll put it that way, rob pensioners. You are robbing pensioners. You cannot claim to care about the British people and yet repeatedly allow more and more mass illegal immigration. You cannot claim to care about the great British public and then have innocent people who have broken no law arrested and imprisoned. The things just don't go together. Unless unless you're talking about caring about a particular part of the great British public. And to hell with all the rest. And I think we all know the answer to that. I will say one last thing, and I've posted this on a number of videos over the course of the past few months. Multiculturalism. Multiculturalism only works if all parties involved want to coexist peacefully. If any one doesn't, multiculturalism fails. And it simply will not work. Ever. Until all parties involved wish to coexist peacefully. And this is a serious problem. Because we keep being told multiculturalism is the way forward. Multiculturalism is best for our country and other countries and so on and so forth. Yes, multiculturalism could be the best thing for our country and other countries, but only if everyone wants to peacefully coexist with all the others. And if one doesn't, remove them from the multicultural society and allow all the others to peacefully coexist because they want to, and the ones that don't can go. Quite simple. Otherwise, multiculturalism will always fail. Does saying that make me a far-right racist? No, it doesn't. It makes me honest. And I suppose you can argue it makes me factual. I don't think you can really disprove the statement I made. But you can try if you'd like. Other than that, thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your comments, your responses, your opinions. Please be respectful of other people's opinions and comments as you would expect them to be respectful of yours. And until next time, thank you for watching.